Hey NFL fans, this is Gary Greene, longtime sports handicapper, professional sports bettor here in Vegas for the past 35 years. And this year, Gary wins videos. And this is the fourth and final NFL Divisional round game and the best one of them all, as the Baltimore Ravens will travel to Rich Stadium to take on the Buffalo Bills. And this, folks, is as good as it gets. The game has gone back and forth with the spread. Should be a pick 'em in my mind, but it is right now the last that I've done before I started to tape this show. Baltimore is a 1-point favorite on the road, the total 51.5, in a game where the game time temperatures are expected to be around 10 degrees as frigid cold hits the East Coast. Buffalo, always a tough time of year to play in this type of cold, but both of these teams are used to this type of cold, so no problem there. For the Ravens, they were 12-5, 6-3 on the road, so they've been road warriors. They're able to pull off wins on the road when need be. And the Bills, 13-4, a perfect 8-0 at home. Very difficult place to go on the road and win. These two quarterbacks came out in the 2018 draft in the first round, and guess what? Both teams won the lottery. They both hit the lottery with fantastic quarterbacks, and they'll be in this position year after year after year unless a terrible injury happens. But this game is basically like a two-man show versus a two-man show. Two-headed monster. Loaded quarterback on each team, loaded running back on each team. First, we'll look at Josh Allen, 40 combined touchdowns, and he led an offense that was the first ever 30 pass, 30 rush touchdown offense. And trust me, folks, that right there, to me, is the immaculate playbook. When you go into a game, you wish you could finish the game with 30 rushes, 30 passes, whatever the number would be, a dead even. That means you kept them off guard. But to have that type of a season, just phenomenal, especially in one that looked like coming in that Josh Allen might not have the receivers to be able to get the job done. He has performed, and he has performed at an MVP level. Of course, he has a great running back behind him. Cook, 16 touchdown runs. He has been very formidable as a running back, and this team is very, very difficult to stop on offense, as is Baltimore, because Lamar Jackson, he has a combined 45 touchdowns, and they are the first offense with 400-yard passing and 300-yard rush, or 4,000-yard passing and 3,000-yard rushing. So both of these teams have achieved what I would give A+ grade, which has probably not been given out by me in many a years. The rushing part of that tandem, of course, is Derek the Beast Henry, and Henry also 16 rushing touchdowns. He's got 2 passing touchdowns as well. So these two teams, you just can't key up on the quarterback or just key up on the running back. If you key up on the running backs, the quarterbacks keep it. Josh Allen's more of one that gets a lot of his runs on the scramble, where they design the runs for Jackson. But they design them for Allen too. You just don't want to get your quarterbacks hurt in these situations. But now we're come down to crunch time. And tonight, my Washington Commanders, when Jaden Daniels had to run, he ran. We see it all the time this late into the playoffs. You got to do what you got to do. But the Ravens played this Buffalo Bills team earlier in the year, and it was a debacle. I mean, the Ravens absolutely destroyed them, 35-10. Henry had 199 yards rushing, and the game was kind of showed what was going to happen on the first play of the game. Derrick Henry ran 87 yards for a touchdown. So the Baltimore team rushed for 271. If they rush for 200 in this game, they're going to probably win the game easily. As far as Jackson, he only had 156 passing yards, but when you're able to run it, running yards are way more important than passing yardage. When you're able to grind, when it gets to the fourth quarter, you knock out the other team because it's tough to tackle, especially in the freezing cold. As far as Allen went, he only had 180 yards passing in that game. Cook, 9 rushes, 39 yards. They're going to have a completely different formula, or they will have no success, even though they're at home where they are perfect this year. In fact, the Bills' longest run in that game against Baltimore, 8 yards. Now, the Bills at home, they have beaten Kansas City and San Francisco. They beat Detroit on the road. So they beat 3 very solid teams, even though San Fran a little bit down this year. As far as the Baltimore Ravens go, they lost at Houston. They lost at the Rams. And I forget the third team. I can't even read my writing there. But they lost to 3 playoff teams No slouch to lose to playoff teams. You're not going to win them all in this league. It's very difficult to do. And even with a fantastic season that Minnesota and Detroit had, they were already going home early. So the Ravens, again, they lost 3 road games this year. To Kansas City by 7, to Cleveland by 5, to Pittsburgh by 2. So they have been in every game, and they had an opportunity to win every game on the road. So we know that they're tested. Their last 5 games on offense, the Ravens have started to really hit another level and hitting another cylinder. Offensive scoring, 35, 34, 31, 35, and their low was 28 last week at Pittsburgh. As far as the thoughts for this game, though, I look for the Ravens who love to run the ball. Again, 248 rushing yards per game average the last 4. I'd expect them to try to just completely do this all game until they fall behind. And the only way they'll probably fall behind more than a touchdown to get off of this game plan would be if they have the turnovers. You see what happened with Washington on Saturday night. Detroit started turning the ball over, and the game just gets sloppy from there, and the game plan goes haywire, and they go crazy with trick plays. These teams aren't really into the trickery. They're into just old-fashioned football, and that's why I think this is the best game of the playoffs this year, bar none. As far as the Bills go, part of the reason they've had success with lesser talent at the wide receiver position is because the offensive line. We talked about Detroit's offensive line all year. We talked about different teams that had solid offensive lines. But in the beginning of the year, Josh Allen didn't throw an interception, I think, until week 9, and the offensive line allowed him to be sacked only 16 times all year. That is A++ off the charts. When you can protect your quarterback like that, you'll end up with an 8-0 record, especially at home with a quarterback that's that good. But the defense for the Bills, the last 4 games, allowing only 99 rushing yards per game. If they can get it to that close to that number, they're going to walk away with a victory. So I expect that Allen will pass the ball a lot better than he did in that first matchup. I expect that Jackson will be able to run the ball pretty well here as well. He's going to break runs. You have to load up to stop Henry. You can't just let him pound you all day. You got to load up there and try to get him in the backfield before he starts getting going. And when that happens, the RPO game, Jackson is really good at it. The problem is this comes down to one thing for Jackson. This has been the pressure game that he hasn't been able to get past. Again, he's played a lot of years now. Josh Allen's played a lot of years. This isn't even the championship game yet. So we have to get that W next to this guy's name for me to consider him a great. You can give him all the MVPs, regular season champs, don't do me nothing. Give me Reggie Jacksons, give me Mr. Octobers. But again, this game, field goals could come down to deciding this game. And you saw what happened in the early game today in Kansas City. When it's cold and it's a little windy, you get regular kicks that just go off by a ton. So this could happen in this game, and you'd hate to see that. I don't want to see that, even though I'll obviously have a play on the game. This is still one of the tougher games to play as far as the line goes because, it's a fair line. I don't know why it got to 1. Buffalo was minus 1.5. I understand that the Ravens beat them up pretty good, and people look at that. But, Buffalo at home being 8-0, I'm not one to really want to go fire against that too often. I'm going to be looking at a total in this game. But it's interesting because both of these two teams come in plus 157 points differential on the year. Uncanny. Then you have Allen, the postseason rushing leader, all-time post-rushing leader for a quarterback, 609 rushing yards. Who's number 2? Lamar Jackson with 602. Again, the Bills have been favored 42 straight games. If this game doesn't change, this will be the first time in a long time, lot of seasons now, where they have not been the favorite at home. And this is as good as it gets. I think this game's going down to the wire. I think somebody's going to kick a field goal right at the end. But I'm going to give you a crazy prediction. I'm going to predict that this game goes to overtime. This has the makings for it. This would be the perfect way to end the weekend. And I just think that this is going to be a grind game. And I think if field goals are tougher to kick, you're going to see guys going for it on 4th down. Those situations a lot of times don't get made, so you're just flipping the field, and I don't think either team pulls away by more than a touchdown in this game, and this game goes right down to the wire, and it's one of the most exciting games. I do think whoever wins this game will beat Kansas City next week. that would be without anybody being injured. That's key player coming into next week. But Houston dominated Kansas City. They did not win the game. These two teams are going to dominate Kansas City, I think, next week, and Kansas City's reign is going to end. So the winner of this game, I believe, will be going to the Super Bowl, playing my Washington Commanders, which is going to be an exciting Super Bowl. That's one I'm just hoping for. All right, we hope everybody has a great weekend. Make sure you check out all our other Gary Wins videos, and may all your wagers be winning ones, and never bet what you cannot afford to lose. And stay safe out there if you're on the East Coast in that cold, and if you're driving out there in the icy snow, please be careful. Have a great one.